I'm Chris, ex-member of the Hells Angels, and I am chatting with Staxx.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Chris. What's going on, man?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's an honor and a pleasure to be on this show. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. So you're one of the members of the Fallen Angels documentary.
Yeah, I am one of the members. I am a ex Hells Angel. I've been out of the club since 2013, and yeah.
What was your early life like?
What was my early life like? Well, my early life like was growing up. My family owned a restaurant. I played hockey at a high level. I played club hockey in college. And then I decided that wasn't for me. And I moved to California. That didn't work out. And I came back here to work at my family's restaurant. Bought a motorcycle and decided that I wanted to join the Hells Angels.
And where are you from for the people that don't know?
I am from Madison, Wisconsin.
No.
Born, raised, prospected, lived here the whole entire time.
And Wisconsin is outlaw country.
Wisconsin is definitely outlaw country. And, you know, I'm a dreamer, right? So I always like to do things big, dream big, think of things big. And I was in a motorcycle club. And I really wasn't the motorcycle club I wanted to be in because my whole life I said if I ever join a motorcycle club, you might as well go right to the top, the Hells Angels. And whatever anybody says about the Hells Angels or whatever, you can't tell the story of America without telling the story of the Hells Angels. Plus, their patches are the coolest out of all the motorcycle clubs. The other ones might not want to. The other ones might not want to admit it, but they are.
I mean, there are some cool ones, but the Hells Angels is pretty cool patch, right?
Iconic, man. Iconic.
It is. It is. It's American as apple pie, hot dogs, and baseball and everything else, right?
Harley Davidson motorcycles, John Deere tractors, Coca-Cola, whatever it may be, Walt Disney. Hells Angels are as Americana as Americana can get.
But the Outlaws are too. They're just a little more, you would say, less well known as the Angels, right?
I can't really speak about the Outlaws, but I mean, come on. The gold rush was in California. Hollywood's in California, right? It ain't in Illinois. It ain't in Wisconsin. It ain't in Mexico. It ain't in another country. Hollywood is in California, man. Everybody go west, young man. Everybody in the United States said go west.
So you said you did join a club before, the Angels?
Yeah, I joined a club, a local club here. And the ironic part about that local club is I was stabbed at that local clubhouse after I was a Hells Angel.
All right, so tell me about how do you get introduced to this club? And what was your prospecting period like?
For the first club or the Hells Angels?
No, the first club.
So the first club, I was introduced to it because where I live in Madison, there really is only one club. And I don't know the stat for sure, but I will say the club that I was in at the time might be the largest single chapter club in the world. They're just local Madison boys that are ride motorcycles and live here in Madison. I mean, I know members because they worked at the Harley shop. My family owns a restaurant. They came here. Um, I worked at a bar where their clubhouse was attached a long time ago. And really, how I got into that club is I started going on some rides with these old dudes. I went to like California, uh, where else? Niagara Falls, Plymouth Rock, Grand Canyon, the Redwoods, Glacier. Me and a couple old dudes would give him 250 bucks and he'd plan out a ride across the country. And, I joined a motorcycle club to ride my motorcycle. That's what's weird. It says MC on the back, Motorcycle Club.
Yeah, people think it stands for more cars, right?
More cars. I don't know what it stands for. It's supposed to stand for more. You know what you know. I mean, I was used to going on rides where we dropped our oil on the side of the road. Put on 6, 7,000 miles in a weekend. And it. I know that there's members that do that in the Hell's Angels when they do ride and riding across the country in a pack of Hell's Angels. If you're into motorcycles, I don't know if there's anything more exhilarating in this world than that.
I hear stories about it, and it's pretty wild the things that I hear.
Yeah.
You're
I
like on the
mean,
edge of your seat, right?
you're on the edge of your seat. You once you strap that patch on, or even what, when you're with the club, even it's different when you strap the patch on. But uh the first ride I went with was some guys in Rockford, and we went to Am Jam in New York, and that was my first like ride with the Hells Angels. And damn, man, it's like it feels like you have a license to do what you want going down that highway, you know? And everybody's like, "Whoa, there's goes a Hell's Angel." In my world, I guess when I was a kid, we never saw bald eagles, and seeing outlaw motorcycle clubs on, outlaw members on motorcycles is kind of like seeing a bald eagle, right? Rare and far and few between. Unless you're in the local town where they live and go by their clubhouse into the bar. But 56 years old, and I've ridden my motorcycle and driven my car all over this country, and seeing a member of any outlaw motorcycle club on the road and say a million miles, if I've seen 10 other than when I was with them, I've seen a lot.
I
And
haven't
that's
bumped into a lot
that,
either. Maybe a handful.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. It's weird, And so, but somehow the Hells Angels have become a part of Americana. So,
So how do you start prospecting? Do they ask you, or do you ask them?
so in 1996, I was going to ride my motorcycle by myself from San Diego. Maybe it was 97, 97, somewhere in there, one of the early, late 90s to, no, you know what? It was 1998. I was going to ride a motorcycle from uh, San Diego to Cabo San Lucas. And I was in Arizona visiting my sister. We had a condo down there, and my friend that owned Easy Rider down there in Arizona, Myron. And I believe Myron used to be a Dirty Dozen member. He said I wouldn't do that because of the federales and gas and all that stuff. And I mean, I didn't speak Spanish at the time, so I didn't do it. So he said, you ought to check out Laughlin. So I go up to Laughlin, and I'm staying at the Flamingo, and I was just starstruck, let's say starstruck, watching the Hells Angels ride wheelies through the parking lot and up and down the street. And people were scared and they kind of took over. And I said to the guy at the casino, I mean, you guys allow this? Does this not hurt your business? And he says, you know what? They spend millions of dollars here every year, and it was peaceful and everything. And I'm like, all right. I thought right then and there, I was like, damn, if I'm in a motorcycle club, that's what I want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I got the bug. And then fast forward to 2000, 2001, uh, I go to Sturgis and I get a flat tire on my bike. And couldn't you would think in Sturgis you could get a motorcycle tire? like get a motorcycle tire. It wasn't that easy because I had Metzler's, and the only shop was a shop called PW Choppers. So I walked into there, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, right? And I walked in there, and there's a opposing figure, like 6'8", 400 some pounds, standing there, right? And I'm like, "You Pee Wee, I need a tire." And you know what? We kind of hit it off. It was a pretty. He hooked me up with a tire, and I said, "How do I be one? Come one of you guys, right?" He goes, "Where do you live?" He goes, "I live in Wisconsin." He's like, "Bro, I moved from Wisconsin to get out of there." He was from Milwaukee, I guess. And I said, "I don't want to move. I don't want to move. I don't want to move." And he said he thought I was kidding around or didn't take me serious, and I was on him. He's a prospect in San Francisco at the time. I was going to go out to San Francisco to see him, and things just didn't work out. So I said, he gives me the number of some guys. Well, first I was going to meet him in Laughlin. Let me back up. I forgot for a second. I said to him, "I want to be a member, right?" And I'm gonna meet. I couldn't meet, so I bought this motorcycle from a bike builder in California, Northern California, and I was picking it up in Laughlin, and that was when the shooting happened there. And I was supposed to pick Pee Wee up at the airport in Las Vegas because he was in jail coming from Sturgis or something. And I actually bought his plane ticket for him to come there. And he told me that there might be some. I think he said, might be a little craziness at the hotel, but just keep my eyes peeled. Nobody told me what was going on or whatever. And I was just a citizen, right? Like I didn't. Nobody knew me. I was just a regular Joe. You know what I mean? Just hanging out, just trying to find my way in. And I was gonna pick Pee Wee up the next day at the airport in Vegas, and we can't get out of our hotel's rooms. I'm standing downstairs seeing, you could see that something was tense, right? People walking around, me mugging each other and all that stuff. And I don't know all the logistics of that, but one thing I will say as a business owner, and if that situation was at my family restaurant, I'd be like, "You guys got to get the fuck out of here. It's the busiest.
And this isn't 2002 when the whole Laughlin thing happened, and you're staying in that same casino.
I am in that hotel. I mean, I'm there to pick up a motorcycle and meet Pee Wee and figure out a way to become a member of the Hells Angels. So I don't know anybody at all. You know what I mean? I'm just standing there in the casino gambling, pissing money away in a slot machine, watching. You know what I mean? And you could see like people were mean mugging each other. It was just like a mean mugging situation. And to me, it scared customers out. And like I said, if that was my place and that was going on, if that wasn't a setup from the federal government, I don't know whether it was or not, I'd be like, "You guys gotta get the fuck out of here. You're hurting my business. It's our busiest weekend in the year, right? And you gotta." And it was just crazy. It was crazy to see, you know. And they refunded, because I was a citizen. They refunded my. It was a 3-day minimum hotel stay. I got my money back because of what happened.
And that's a
So
lot of
Harris,
money, right?
yeah, I don't know how many rooms there are in Harris, but if everybody got their money back for that weekend, for their busiest weekend in Laughlin, where they make the most money out of the year that they count on, man,
So
that's
walk
got to
me through
be.
what happens. Like what do you see happen?
I just see like a mean mugging, a stare down constantly, and people walking around like pacing. You could just feel the energy of heat. And I didn't actually see like what went down because I had went up to my room because I was tired of waiting. I mean, maybe I waited it out. I think I pissed like I was supposed to pick up this motorcycle. And I did pick it up, but I think I blew like 5 grand in this stupid slot machine that I don't even play, just waiting for something to pop off, right? Hell, if something's gonna go down, I mean, hell. who doesn't like to see a good scrap, right? Especially if it's not you in it. You know what I mean? Like you want to see a scrap. Like we're always up for that, you know? And nothing happened. And like I said, when I got up in the middle of the night, they locked down every floor. Nobody could get out of the hotel. I looked out my window and you could see a body laying out in front. Not sure whose body it was or whatever. And then finally they let us out. And I got my truck and I came up to the top of the going out of the parking lot. And here's this dude running around up there with no just had his sweatshirt on. And he tells me he's a Hell's Angel. And I give him a ride over to Bullhead City where where they're where they were set up at Runside or whatever for Laughlin, right? And I dropped them off. And the ironic part, when I ran into when I went to that thing in Amjam in New York in 2002, that same member was there. But I haven't seen him since. But who knows?
He's probably like, "Wow, thank you for the ride and all that," right?
Yeah, he's like, it was ironic, right? Because I mean, I had already established a relationship with this dude and these guys from Illinois. How do you know this guy? I'm like, told him the same story. Gave him a ride, man. He asked me for a ride. I gave him a ride. I knew nothing about him. All they did is give him a ride to my car and drop him off. And I might have seen him later on. He was an Arizona member. I probably saw him after that, but I'm not really sure. And so even after all that, I still wanted to join the Hells Angels.